Good afternoon. Thank you to Margaret, Sharon, and Marty, and your membership for inviting me on behalf of Waste Free Greenwich to discuss our local efforts to create a sustainable future. During this hour with you, we'll explore the state of waste in Connecticut, the impacts of our waste management system, and the solutions to our current crisis, with an emphasis on food waste reduction and diversion, hence the title, Food Matters. But first, a little background about our grassroots organization. Waste Free Greenwich started as an online resource for our community, but our scope and mission broadened when our team of dedicated volunteers set out to establish a food scrap recycling program for our town in 2019. We quickly recognized the need for our organization to engage, educate, and empower the Greenwich community to waste less, and have been immersed in a whirlwind of programming and projects over the past few years. We've grown to a team of 20 and are on our way to becoming a 501c3. To fulfill our mission, our energies are primarily devoted to educational programming and community outreach, and I'll give you a little sampling of our work. Waste Free Greenwich has organized documentary screenings and panel discussions about food waste, environmental justice, and regenerative agriculture. We've welcomed the opportunity to present to local organizations from libraries and the Junior League to schools and condo associations. Waste Free Greenwich has teamed up with local libraries for author talks and cooking demos. On the afternoon of April 1st, we'll have our second annual Rethink Waste Fair, a family-friendly event with activities and vendors to explore ways to rethink waste. Please mark your calendars if you'd like to take a trip to Greenwich to join us. As part of our Skip the Straw campaign, we organize beach cleanups in April and September at Greenwich Point, one of our town beaches. In addition, we've enjoyed considerable coverage in the local press and promotion by our town and our partners who have been a big part of our success. And we have a growing social media presence on Instagram and and Facebook, and distribute a weekly newsletter. So please follow us at Waste Free Greenwich and sign up to join our mailing list on our website. Through our programs and events, we hope to increase awareness about the impacts of our waste system and encourage individual and community efforts towards zero waste. So let's set the stage to understand why food matters. Why is it important to prevent, rescue, and recycle our food rather than disposing it by landfill and incineration? As Annie Leonard stated, there's no such thing as a way. When you throw something away, it must go somewhere. In 2021, Connecticut's 3.6 million residents disposed almost 2.2 million tons of municipal solid waste. About 83% of the state's trash was sent to our 5 in-state incinerators, and the remaining 17% was shipped out of state. Only about 35% of our waste was diverted by recycling or composting, a rate that really hasn't budged in several decades. Our waste management system in Connecticut is at a critical point. The incinerators were constructed in the mid-80s or early 90s and are well past their prime. The facilities are expensive to maintain, risky to finance, and costly to upgrade. So much so that the Mira incinerator in Hartford, the largest of the 5, shut down in July 2022. The remaining incinerators are at or close to practical capacity, and now there's quite a gap between incinerator capacity and waste generated in the state. Connecticut's waste system is no longer self-sufficient. More and more of our trash, an estimated 40%, will need to be exported out of state to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia to be landfilled. But there's a problem with this. It's estimated that our country has only 18 years of landfill capacity remaining. And let's not forget, landfills are a significant source of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, and the transport of waste to these landfills has a large carbon footprint. The impacts of our current waste system are serious and far-reaching: fiscal, environmental, and social. The costs of waste management are expected to rise exponentially. They are projected to quintuple by 2050, as you can see on this graph, which will strain municipal budgets. Although incinerators generate a bit of energy, they are major sources of air pollution. Compared to coal-fired power plants, incinerators emit significantly more toxics and pollutants. These facilities are generally grandfathered from air quality regulations. And it's not just the air that's affected, it's soil and water too. There's a significant amount of ash left over after incineration, roughly 25% of the weight of the incoming waste that's burned. Ash contains high concentrations of dioxins, lead, mercury, and PCBs. In 2018, almost 500,000 tons of ash were buried in Putnam, which is an economically distressed environmental justice community. Plans to more than double the size of the landfill were recently approved despite objections. The facility is next to a wetlands and the Quinebaug River, whose waters eventually empty into the Sound. So these waters and the surrounding soils are under threat from discharged effluent and possible accidents over time. Another impact of our waste system is environmental injustice. Low-income residents and communities of color are suffering the disproportionate consequences of our waste management decisions. In this map, the light red tracks indicate areas designated by the state as environmental justice communities. These are the most fiscally and economically distressed communities and defined census block groups, where 30% of the population lives below 200% of the federal poverty level. You'll notice that 3 of the 5 incinerators and the ash landfill in Putnam are all located in environmental justice communities. Lisbon and Preston are not designated as distressed municipalities, but Preston is located close to the Pequot tribal lands you can see in blue. I've also included Wind Waste Westchester on this map, as Greenwich's waste is trucked to Peekskill, New York, another environmental justice community, to be incinerated. According to the Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions, Peekskill burns the trash of five of the wealthiest cities in America. It's not unusual in the U.S. To site polluting facilities in environmental justice communities. According to a New School study, 80% of incinerators are in low-income and communities of color, like Peekskill, Bristol, Bridgeport, Hartford, and Putnam. These environmental justice communities faced a host of challenges: low medium income, high rates of asthma and respiratory disease, high infant mortality rates. Many of their health challenges are a direct result of polluting facilities like incinerators. These residents bear the brunt of environmental injustices and can afford it least. The question we should ask ourselves now is not where will our trash go, but how can we reduce the amount of trash we generate? We need better, sustainable, long-term solutions to address our waste crisis and its impacts. But to determine what those solutions are, we need to know what materials to target. In 2015, the state did a waste characterization study, which indicated that over 41% of materials in municipal solid waste could be recovered for recycling, is compostable organics, and that includes yard waste and food scraps. On the right, we see that that food composes over 22% of our waste stream in Connecticut. Even though another study hasn't been conducted since 2015, DEEP contends that these figures are still representative today and can be used to guide policy and planning. Focusing efforts on cutting food waste can turn the tide on our waste crisis, conserve our natural resources, reduce our carbon footprint, and more. And that's why Waste Free Greenwich has made food waste reduction a focus of our community efforts. In America, 30 to 40% of food grown is not consumed. Food loss and waste have serious repercussions. When food is trashed, all the inputs and resources that go into getting food from the farms to our forks are lost. There's a ripple effect. There's wasted money. The average household spends between $1,500 and $1,800 annually on uneaten food. Food is one of the heaviest and most expensive components of our trash to transport and incinerate or landfill. That's an unnecessary fiscal burden for our communities. There's wasted water. A quarter of our fresh water is used to produce uneaten food. A pound of beef is equal to running a shower for 6 hours. This is something we'd never consider doing, but how often are uneaten hamburgers or steaks tossed in the garbage without a second thought? There's also wasted land. According to the World Wildlife Fund, 70% of biodiversity lost is driven by agriculture expansion. We don't need to eliminate more habitat to grow more food. We need to waste less of what's already produced. Not only does food waste have a heavy fiscal impact and a toll on our natural resources, it is also a major contributor to climate change. If food loss and waste were its own country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter behind China and the US, responsible for about 8% of global emissions. Project Drawdown ranked reducing food waste as the #1 effective action to limit end of century global warming to 2%. I'm sorry, 2 degrees Celsius, ahead of solar energy, improve refrigeration above any strategy that's listed here. So if there's one action you can take for people and planet, please cut your food waste. All this wasted food when 1 in 7 Americans is food insecure, including 20% of children under the age of 5. Given all these deleterious impacts on budget, public health, and the environment, it is imperative to eliminate food from the waste stream. It's time to elevate this action in the public consciousness. But how do we cut food waste? Well, the most preferable strategy is source reduction, cutting off the tap, followed by feeding hungry people and animals. While still important, anaerobic digestion and composting come next. Landfilling and incineration are a last resort. These should only be implemented when all the other strategies are exhausted. We are also guided by state recommendations. In 2016, DEEP created a state comprehensive materials management strategy, which laid out a plan on how to reach 60% waste reduction by 2024, which unfortunately we're not close to. And then in 2020, DEEP teamed up with over 90 municipalities to form the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management, CCSMM, to explore ways to reduce the amount of waste that's generated in our state. Working groups focus on specific areas of interest, including food scraps and organics collection and diversion. And the coalition created a menu of options and solutions for municipalities that included promoting collection and diversion of wasted food, infrastructure development, and expanding, strengthening, and increasing compliance of existing laws. With strong laws, programs, and incentives in place, we can start to tackle food waste in our state. Where is all this food waste generated? More food is wasted in our homes than in any other part of the food chain, 39%, as you can see in the pie chart. Residential food waste far outpaces losses on farms or waste in restaurants or grocery stores. But that's not to say we shouldn't be concerned with the commercial sector. This is what food waste looks like in Greenwich: a full dumpster and boxes of produce at a local grocery store, and the tipping floor of our transfer station, which was covered with discarded fruits and vegetables from a major supermarket and were headed for incineration. There are a couple of state laws that are supposed to address this issue. The first is the Food Donation Act, which was passed last legislative session, requiring supermarkets to adopt a food donation program policy, and this just went into effect. The second is the Commercial Organics Law, which applies to large-scale generators like supermarkets, resorts, conference centers, wholesalers, and manufacturers. These entities must source separate their organic material, like food scraps, if they produce 26 tons or more per year and are located not more than 20 miles from an authorized composting facility. The material should be diverted from disposal by reducing, donating, recycling for animal feed, anaerobic digestion, or composting. So there's lots of options. However, many municipalities are exempt from these regulations because they are outside of the 20-mile geographic range, as you can see here. Greenwich is one of those municipalities that are outside of these circles, as well as most of the eastern and northwestern part of the state. Another issue is enforcement because of DEEP's lack of funding and resources. Governor Lamont and DEEP have made strengthening this law a priority this session, and there's a proposed House Bill 5577 being drafted, so my fingers are crossed. On a local scale, Waste Free Greenwich recently turned our attention to the commercial sector and designed the Greenwich Food Matters Challenge to empower food service providers to cut food waste through prevention, rescue, and recycling. We partnered with the Center for Ecotechnology, a national leader in waste reduction, which offered their technical assistance at no cost through their contract with Connecticut DEEP. And this is something the municipalities should definitely take advantage of. 6 Greenwich restaurants participated in the challenge, implementing food-saving practices in the spring 2022, which are documented in this video. We are now embarking on a collaborative pilot with the Center for Ecotechnology and the Greenwich Sustainability Committee, focusing on waste reduction in country clubs. Greenwich is not the only community in Connecticut to embark on a program to cut food waste in our commercial sectors. Middletown has a very successful Feed the Earth program to target food providers. Dozens of restaurants have taken advantage of the program to recycle their food scraps at no cost. And we hope our programs will provide a model for other communities. Okay. On the residential side, we have also taken steps to prevent food waste from occurring in the first place. The Greenwich Conservation Commission and Waste Free Greenwich have partnered with Save the Food, a national PSA campaign to increase awareness about food waste and how to prevent it. Through its tips and tools, Save the Food can help you shop and plan wisely, understand sell by and use by dates. Use the freezer and fridge to store foods correctly to extend their life, and much more. And I'd like to highlight some of Save the Food's amazing tools that you can use at home. There's first the Meal Prep Mate. You select the number of eaters, days, and the meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Then you enter the ingredients that you have, and the Meal Prep Mate will provide you with a waste less guide for storage and scraps, meal inspiration ideas, and a portions shopping list. There's also an interactive storage guide with tips and tricks for extending the life of foods, and you can see one for avocados highlighted here. They also have ideas for cooking with scraps, saving foods past their prime, and featured recipes. There's really a wealth of information on this site, and I encourage you to use it. Our organization also promotes also promotes donation to divert surplus food from our waste stream while supporting our neighbors who are food insecure. Through its app, Food Rescue US directs would-be wasted food from donors to receiving agencies, including food pantries and community centers. Their network in Fairfield County has rescued over 41 million pounds of food from incineration and landfill and provided millions of meals to neighbors. Food Rescue US works throughout the United States, and they are just one of the many rescue organizations you can find in your own communities. Our organization promotes and facilitates internal and external food donation, particularly in our local schools. For example, last year, we helped Greenwich Academy partner with Food Rescue US to deliver food weekly to a shelter in neighboring Stamford. This fall, we teamed up with Old Greenwich School to organize a donation program, which has already sent hundreds of pounds of food to a youth center. Other area independent schools are food donors to Food Rescue US or donate directly to social agencies. Another strategy to reduce food waste and feed hungry students is share tables, which some of our public schools utilize with success. Share tables are stations where children may return uneaten, unopened food or beverage items in compliance with local and state health and food safety codes to make items available to other children who may want additional servings. At one of our Title I elementary schools, share tables divert at least 18% of cafeteria waste, a projected 2,160 pounds each year. Not only does Waste Free Greenwich aim to prevent and donate food, we have also been instrumental in diverting wasted food through recycling and composting programs. In June 2020, we worked with the town of Greenwich to launch a food scrap recycling program whereby residents collect organic material at home and deposit it at 3 drop sites in our town, our transfer station, our seasonal farmers market, and 2 churches. To date, residents have diverted about 80 tons or 160,000 pounds of food scraps from the waste stream. About 5 to 7% of Greenwich households participate in the program. For an overview of the program, I'd like to share this video, which features some of our Waste Free Greenwich team that will bring the process to life for you.
Waste Free Greenwich presents food scrap recycling. Taking food scraps from your kitchen and turning them into soil to grow new food. We make food scrap recycling easy with our signature kit. The kit includes a countertop pail, a roll of compostable bags, and a storage bin that you can use to take your scraps to the transfer station. You can line your countertop pail with a compostable plastic bag, a paper bag, or you can put your scraps directly into the pail. Our program accepts any food item, including fruits and vegetables, breads, pasta, rice and grains, chips, nuts and seeds, eggshells, leftover or spoiled food, and even pet food. You can toss in your coffee grounds, tea bags, cut flowers, food-soiled paper towels, and napkins. Any food is accepted, including meat, bones, fish, shells, and dairy products. Please avoid including stickers, twisties, rubber bands, packaging, wrappers, wipes, or paper toweling that was used with chemical cleaners or pet waste. You can keep your food scraps in the storage bin in your garage or basement until you are ready to transport them. Or you can store them in the freezer until it is convenient for you to take them to the Holly Hill transfer station. Take your scraps to Holly Hill and follow the signs to the drop-off station. Then you can empty your bin into the toters. Done! A hauler picks up the food scraps and takes them to a licensed composting facility to be processed into compost that can be spread on your garden beds for healthy plants and vegetables. Join us! Waste-free.
Okay. So each spring, we celebrate the success of our municipal food scrap recycling program with our Compost Give Back Day, when we distribute free compost to participating residents. This fall, we also hosted our first Great Pumpkin Rescue with our Conservation Commission. We had a bunch of fun pumpkin-themed games like ring toss and tic-tac-toe, a pumpkin smash, a compost demo, and diverted over 4,000 pounds of pumpkins from the waste stream in just a few hours. Commercial pickup of food scraps is another option. A few companies like Blue Earth and Curbside Compost offer organics hauling by subscription, and there are probably other companies that are available in your communities. A handful of food establishments and most independent schools in Greenwich contract with these licensed haulers who transport the food scraps to processing facilities. Just last month, Waste Free Greenwich partnered with Greenwich Public Schools to pilot food scrap recycling at New Lebanon Elementary until the end of the school year, and we hired Blue Earth as a hauler. So far, the results have been remarkable. We've already been using other strategies like share tables, liquid collection, and recycling rate to cut the amount of trash. But by segregating our food scraps, the diversion rate rose from 42% to 43% by weight. Food scraps compose nearly 40% of the trash in the schools. Many residents opt to compost in their backyards, and Waste Free Greenwich provides a guide to start backyard composting at home on our website. Waste Free Greenwich is also lucky to have 4 master composters on our team. Last year, we worked with 7th graders at Temple Shalom to install a composting system on this synagogue grounds. And we introduced the concept to Riverside School students for Earth Day. We hope to increase our outreach to promote backyard composting this year. While Waste Free Greenwich has made some strides to cut food waste in our community, we're now looking to have an even greater impact. And to this end, we really hope to continue our education and outreach, advocate for these stronger and expanded legislative regulations, promote food rescue and backyard composting, expand participation and tonnage of food scrap recycling program. And we're really hoping to have some kind of curbside pickup, which will really increase our numbers. Meriden was the first to pilot a co-collection program called Making Meriden Green. It was a 4-month, 1,000 household pilot, and they ended up diverting 13 tons of food scraps during this time. Deep was able to they're handing out about $10 million now to municipalities for co-collection pilots. And the first round, they just gave out $5 million grants to 15 municipalities. You can see listed here. And we're really hoping that the town of Greenwich will apply for one of these grants, because we feel that this is what we need to get over the hump. So I hope that I provided you with some tools, resources, and ideas to bring home and to your communities. Please spread the word about why food matters, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.